Hey. All right, good morning. Welcome to Tuesday morning therapeutic chair yoga. Get myself lined well here. We can see my feet. Today we'll be focusing on things you can do to support your knees and knee alignment. So we'll, as we usually do, have a focus on breath work and the details of posture and a meditative quality to our practice. But along the way, I'll also be giving specific things that you can do, mostly at the ankle and the hip, believe it or not, to help support your knees. So we'll start with grounding our attention, bringing our awareness to the present moment. And a really good way to begin that process is to feel your feet. I like to wiggle my toes, remember they're down there, and take a few deep inhales and a few big exhales. This coming into a sense of place. So where are you located? Where are your feet touching the ground at? Could even say the name of the place. I'm at home in Springfield, Missouri, and you wherever you are, breathing together in and down, and we'll add emphasis to the movement of the diaphragm. So inhale, diaphragm contracts and moves down. Exhale, the effort is released and the diaphragm moves up. And we'll take a few inhales that are as full as can be, big inhale. A second inhale to really fill up even more. And then a sighing exhale. We'll do that 2 more times. Big inhale twice. And exhale, sighing out of the mouth. 1 more time. 2 big inhales and an exhale. Good. So that is one of the quickest ways to really tap into the movement of the diaphragm to help the nervous system both energize and calm and become oriented to place. So we'll pay attention to the feet again, and looking down, just notice how your feet tend to go. So if you have knee pain, bring into your awareness how often and in what direction your feet tend to go below the knee is really relevant, because if the foot tends to be over here and the knee tends to be over here, over time, wear and tear. If there's a tendency to have a foot like this, over time, wear and tear. So we're looking to start ourselves off in a way that's going to create ease and success as we go further into the class. And the foundation of that is literally the feet. So thinking about the 4 corners of your foot, inside edge of the ball of the foot, all the way around to the outside edge, wrapping around to the outside edge of your foot, and then around to the inside edge of your foot. These are 4 corners of the foot that actively are engaged with the ground. So if you notice that you tend to only be able to push through the middle edge of your foot, or only be able to push through the outside edge of your foot, that's relevant, because as you see me doing inside edge or outside edge, the knee is affected in this way. That's a side-to-side action. And the knee is a hinging joint. So we're looking to take out all of those extra and unconscious movements that are side-to-side with the knee joint. It's not to say that the knees are precious and we can never let them do this. It's just to say that we want that to come in a conscious way further along in our training. So the 4 corners of the feet ground down, and you'll notice that activates the hips. Now consciously activate the glutes in the hips and engage the glutes at the same time as grounding the feet down. Good, and take a few breaths and just notice the quality of activation of those 2 engagements, feet down, glutes on. And it really brings awareness to the feet and legs and all this activation. And then soften the effort as much as would help to make it sustainable. So if you activate to 100%, think about more like 40 to 60% engagement through the feet down and the glutes being engaged. Really good. And then we'll review the alignment up the way. The glutes are on and the front hip bones are gently engaged so the low belly stays toned. And the ribs are stacked right on top of the hip bones. The shoulders are right over the hips. And the head's on top. So the side view makes for the best way to tell that I'm not just kind of sitting here passively, but there's tons happening inside of this seated posture. Okay, and breathe into that space and feel how much more with all of this activation that the diaphragm can move. And that's really a key for yoga being supportive for stress and stress management. So step one, feet on the ground, head on the shoulders, breath in, big movements of the diaphragm. Good, and as we hold in this position, just notice where do you have pain or strain or any sensations. And we'll see how that changes over the course of practice today. Really good. So we'll start with some hip mobility to support the knee stability. So starting with the right leg staying grounded, bring the left leg up and around and see if you can tap it towards the outside. So you're lifting it up with your front hip flexors, lifting up and taking it around and setting down. So the hip bones don't really move. And also the right foot doesn't move. So there's no movement out to the side of the knee. All of this engagement that we've set in place so far stays there. And you're just seeing how high it's possible to lift and then externally rotate and plant the foot down. Good. So if you have arms on your chair, this one is a little difficult, but often if you just scoot to the very front of the chair, there's enough space. Good. And next time you come around, set in front, pause there, and then we'll do a little self-massage in the area that was working pretty hard. So the front of the hip here, just taking your thumbs and palpating into that area a little bit. And then hold your thumb right at the hip crease and take all of the alignments that we've established so far and lift the leg and lower the leg. And you'll feel a muscle come and engage underneath your thumb likely. We want to be sure that the front of the hip is taking this action to lift the leg, that there's no momentum or pulling from the upper body. So we've got our thumb there to feel that that muscle's engaging. Good, and set it back down. Release, shake the legs out, take a few deep breaths. Stabilize the left leg, ground through the foot, stabilize the glute on the left side, lift and open, place the foot down and close. So I've touched on it briefly, but to support the knee, we have to have mobility at the hip and mobility at the ankle. So the mobility that's available there allows for the knee to hold stable and steady. If we lack mobility in the hip or the ankle, and there is too much stability at those joints, that unnecessary mobility moves into the knee. Good. So you may hear some pops or clicks as you move your hip in this way. Just make an effort to go right inside of them. So not pushing into them, just finding the path of least resistance. Good. And one more time, stabilizing the down leg. Foot goes down, around and up. Good. Pressing into the front of the hip on the right side, releasing that muscle. And then again, we'll check in with it, making sure it's engaging, lifting the foot, keeping the foot active as you lift it, and really feeling that the lifting of the leg happens from the front of the hip. Even if your foot doesn't go anywhere and you're taking just the smallest of movements, but you're feeling this muscle come on and engaged, underneath your thumb, then we're on the right track. And then from there, start to get more lift and build more strength. Really good. Set the foot down. Take a few deep breaths. We'll now move into some ankle mobility. So lifting the left leg, interlace your fingers behind the leg. So you're kind of in a way that really is using the big back muscles and the forearms and the biceps holding the leg up. So we're getting some strength and stability in the upper body from how we're holding our leg. And then we'll circle your left ankle towards the outside. Seeing if you can isolate the movement completely to the ankle, so no movement around at the knee, just the ankle. And then also moving the toes as much as possible. Keep going. And switching directions. Steady, smooth breath as you circle just inside of end range through the ankle, moving the toes as much as you can. Good. And keep holding the ankle. Check in with how you're holding the leg in place, and we'll rotate out and rotate in. So now we're hinging side to side with the ankle, and you may not have a lot of movement in this range of motion, but you won't get it any other way but using it. So trying to pronate the foot intentionally and moving it side to side in this way. So these are the little movements that the ankle muscles do to support changes in terrain, or if you catch a threshold, these muscles are the ones that adapt to keep you upright. So making sure that they're supple and able to turn on and off is really important. Good, and come back to centered with the ankle. We'll point and flex. Pulling the toes back. Good. And then we'll set the foot down and reach down, and we'll just do a little bit of soft tissue work on the calf and the front of the leg. So if the calf is really tight, that's a sign that it's engaged and holding tight all the time because of something going on with the joints above and below it. So if we can release that as we get more mobility, we'll have more access to that muscle as we try to move into some of our knee stabilization postures. Okay, plus it builds strength in the hands. Good job. Switch sides. See if you can interlace your fingers the other way on this side, sitting up nice and tall, both sit bones in the ground. Stabilize through your lower foot, circling the ankle to the outside. Good. Lots of movement with the toes and lots of awareness on breath and breath connection. Switch directions. Good, and then internal and external rotation. This one's hard. You want the effort to move somewhere else, but seeing if you can keep all the work happening right at the ankle joint. Good, and then point and flex. Good, last time, pointing and then placing the foot down, and we'll move into a little bit of that soft tissue work. So gentle self-massage on the shin and on the calf. And a lot of this is to just kind of bring more and more awareness to which muscles are maybe really gripped up and working super hard, And just build more familiarity with your tissues and their tendencies. Good, releasing the calf. And we'll come into a seated posture and stillness, organizing the spine well, so front hip bones and head, then broadening through the shoulders. And we'll do a breathing practice here after kind of waking up and energizing the legs. And as you're doing this breathing practice, imagine that you could breathe down low, all the way to where it was moving down in the pelvis area, even with how much you're filling and moving the area here with breath. So we'll take 10 breaths in this way, just seeing what that feels like, what that's like to breathe all the way down. Good, keep going. This is an effort to bring awareness to the pelvis and to the pelvic floor. So keeping the feet gently activated, and as you're breathing in and down, and awareness on the pelvic floor and the activity there, gentle engagement of the glutes and the feet down. Breathing all the way in and down. Good. Now we're going to release that area at the front of the hip that we activated and gently massaged at the beginning of class. So we'll be turning to the side, and really just one leg is on the chair. So in this case, I'm going to be calling this my right leg is on the chair, my left leg is on the chair, sorry, and the front leg is coming back. So the goal of this position is to have this area of the front of the hip in extension. So starting with the leg off and the toes tucked, slowly taking the leg back, really using the back of the chair for lots of support. If you can keep the toes tucked, that adds an element of a stretch to the bottom of the foot. And the glute of the right leg that's down is on. And you're really trying to extend the front hip and sit up tall. Grounding through the four corners of the front leg. We'll take 5 big deep breaths here. Seeing if you can move the leg back a little bit while keeping the front leg engaged. Good, and then release that leg slowly. Bring it up, and we'll come through center, making our way to the other side, the other leg on the chair, the toes tucked on the front leg, and walking that leg back, ground through the four corners of the front, as much hip extension, glute activation, and stability from the tucked toes, as well as the grounded front foot. Big deep breaths in and down. So all of this area, believe it or not, of the front of the hip is so deeply connected in the center of the abdomen with the diaphragm. So these big deep breaths help everything of this front torso area to soften and release. And if you breathe in and down low, you can feel the breath adding to the stretch as you extend up through the back of the crown. Good, and releasing and coming to center, grounding the feet in center, and just bringing some attention and awareness to the sensation at the front of the hips, feet grounded, glutes gently engaged, extension through the back of the crown. Good, we'll do one more of those each side, and you can either keep it at that level or progress it along with me. So turning to the first side, grounding and placing the front foot, and then coming to that position we were in last time. If this feels like your stopping point, that's perfectly fine. If you'd like to begin to extend the front leg back and come into more of a full lunge position where the glute is really engaged, you're beginning to straighten the back leg, can do so. Really working to keep the front of the body closed here and the spine extended upward. And the more you're active through both feet and getting lighter and lighter on the chair, you can begin to feel you're still having the support of the chair there, but you're getting a ton of work as though you were in a freestanding lunge of all the muscles of the pelvic floor, the glutes, and the legs that are going to support a standing lunge. A few more deep breaths here. So you can come all the way up. You can still be rested on the chair, or you can be in our initial starting position. And once you go, however far you go, doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can back it off to the previous step. So here we have all the things we laid out at the beginning of class with our foot and our hip alignment and all this stability building around the knee. And in the back leg, we're really extending through the active foot to create this stability from the hip. Okay, and release whichever variation and come to center. We'll pause here, just noticing the breath rate and the heart rate. If you notice your heart rate and breath rate really elevated, use that breath we did at the beginning of class to inhale. So big inhale, second inhale, and softening exhale can really help bring the body back to homeostasis quickly. Good. All right, other side, we'll turn in this direction, starting off with the stability of the ankle or the foot, ankle, knee, hip, coming to that starting position with the toes tucked, kind of 90-90 with the legs. This is your, as far as you go, that's perfect. You can use the back of the chair for support to sort of test out, beginning to walk the toes back and extending through the back leg, keeping both hip bones pointing forward and not letting the ribs flare, keeping the front of the body contained, and a big stretch to the front of the hip, extension through the back of the crown for a nice tall spine. Big breaths in and down. Can begin to lift up off of the chair if that feels like the level of strength you want to move towards. Keep the glute resting on the chair, or even a place kind of in between there where you're beginning to lift off, but not fully creating space between you and the chair. Holding to your capacity, and then maybe taking the last variation. Good, and then on an exhale, releasing, bring yourself down, coming back to the starting position. Releasing any tension at the front of the hips or in the calves. We'll begin to move into loading the feet and the knees. I'll show you from a side position what it will look like. So I'm on the chair and in contact with the chair. I'm going to send my weight forward and bring weight into my feet. My feet are really active and ready for all of this weight. And I'm going to start to press up like I'm coming to stand up and then come back. Start to press up, active feet, active hips, and then come back. So here we're trying to see what tends to happen with the knees. So as you come forward, we're trying to keep stability at the ankle and the foot, and stability at the hip and at the knee, so that there's no side-to-side movement. So loading the feet, feeling the engagement from the legs and the pelvic floor, and then back. Spine stays aligned. And we're just headed towards our edge, seeing if we can get a little lightness through the hips, and then back. So that it's in these little initial movements that we can begin to see the ways that possibly every time you're doing this in your day-to-day life, there's some habituated side-to-side movement. Good. Next time you come back, bring your hands to the outsides of your knees. And take a few deep breaths And on the exhale, press your knees into your hands and create an isometric action and really ground to the outside edge of the foot. And there you'll start to feel a lot of engagement in the outer hip. Really good. And then bring your fists in between your knees and squeeze your knees into your fists. You'll feel lots of inner thigh activation. As we move into this effort again to stand, move towards standing and come back, see if you can imagine that you're also taking these stabilizing actions that we're doing here. We'll even try it a few times with the hands on the outsides of the knee. So depending if your knee tends to move in or out, these isometric holds can really help activate the muscles in the hip that will help prevent that. So holding the outside edges of the knee, coming to press up and back. So as you press the hands into the knees outward, you'll notice that less and less side to side action happens as you feel the stabilizing muscles available to you. Good, keep going. Exhaling, press up, feet, hips. Inhaling, come back. Good, so we're getting some strength through the arms, holding the hands down with the lats, broadening through the palms. Good. Last time, come to the edge, press through the feet, start to stand up, go right to your edge and hold there. Try to find a place that you could sustain all these efforts. And begin to notice the differences in how you press through the right leg or the left leg. We're really working to have equal effort through both legs. So see if you can even that out or lessen your effort and then even that out and then make another effort equally through both feet. Hold as long as you can, or 2 more breaths. And then release your weight down to the chair. Hands come to the top of the thighs. Take all your alignments. Feel your feet. An extension up through the back of the crown. Bring your heart rate and breath rate back down. Notice where you're holding tension from those efforts and see if you can come to a completely relaxed place in between these efforts. Okay, we're going to do another round. This is building strength and stability in a really controlled way where we can really retrain and come to notice what's happening at the knee when we're loading the legs. So bring awareness to feet, ground through the 4 corners of the foot, ball of the foot to the outside edge of the foot, and then ground the big toe. And see if you can leave the rest of the toes lifted or let them relax down gently, but try not to grip up through your toes. So the feet are there for balance and the toes are there for extra balance, but we don't want them gripped up. So take a look or just notice if your feet are gripped up and see if you can keep them relaxed through this process. So as you ground through the feet, stabilize through the glutes, gently lift the pelvic floor, extend up through the back of the crown, weight comes forward, press through the feet, and then come back. Good. So if you need to take pauses in between repetitions to ensure that as you come forward, equal weight through both legs, as you begin to press, equal weight through both legs and the whole foot, and then come back. So again, if you tend to be on the outside edge of your foot, the knees will be out. You may need to really engage the inner thigh more and press through the inner arch of the foot as you press up. So you can try a few repetitions with the hands here, helping really engage and wake up this whole inner thigh area. Good, so we're really taking the time to feel the beginning of the actions And what's happening in some movements that we're probably taking several times a day that could be causing the wear and tear on joints, specifically the knee. Good, up and press and hold for several breaths. We'll go for 5, but however many you can with stability, however much lift you can have, where you're keeping all 4 corners of the feet engaged, the spine organized, not letting the head release forward, keep the back of the crown extended up. Good, and release back down. Okay, this is our big moment. We're going to be coming up into standing. So releasing the hands down by the side, or you can use the chair if you need, but we're going to be trying to stand up in the same way that we've been activating throughout the whole class. So shifting the weight forward through both feet, feeling the weight continue to shift, and then press up into standing with very little side to side action in the foot or the knee. Okay, so in standing, we're going to work a little bit the descent of the knees in a similar way. So all the things that we've gone over about feet and activation of feet apply here. The feet are straight and the glutes are engaged. You can use the chair for support, and we're really working to hinge the hips back. So that in this movement, the first action is hips moving back and knees bending in response. So feet are activated, 4 corners, hips back, spine stays engaged, and then coming up into hip extension. So same thing, we're watching here for, as we come back and down, any side to side action in the knee, and seeing if we can stabilize that through more engagement down of the foot. And fully up to standing in between. Good, so you can go as low as feels comfortably possible and working your way there slowly. If you begin to see when you go further down that there's side to side actions in the knee, just work more shallow range of motion until you can stay stabilized through the whole thing. And then go down slowly, little by little more. Same things apply to head and head alignment. So if you notice the head jetting forward at some point, that's your stopping point. Good. Next time you come down, as low as feels comfortably possible to hold. Feel the 4 corners of the feet actively engaging down, especially whichever side you tend to release up. So if that's the outer edge, really engage the outer edge of the foot down. If that's the inner edge, really ground the big toe. Weight shifting towards your heels is sort of a standard cue that has to be given a lot because we're tending towards being tipped forward on our toes. So shift weight back to your whole foot. And we'll come out just a bit and hold there. And out just a bit and hold there. And then fully up to standing. Recovering your breath and stabilizing through the feet again. And we'll flow in and out of the pose a few more times, down and up. As much or as little support from the chair as you need, as much or as little depth as is right for you today. Noticing again, if there's a tendency for more weight to be distributed through one leg or the other. So as you're coming down, watching for any side to side action at the knee, keeping the foot stabilized, feeling all the muscles of support that are on in the pelvis when we're really engaged at the foot. Good, coming down and holding at your lowest point available. Big breaths in. All right, and slowly coming up into standing, and we'll take a few moments in standing meditation to feel the effortless effort available if you're engaged with the feet down and the glutes are on and supported and all of your bones are stacked in a line, head on top, to create as much ease as possible in your standing posture. We'll take 10 deep breaths here together, in and down. If you need to move into a seated pose, that's always available, but we'll be getting there soon. Five more meditative breaths, holding the eyes still, attention in felt relationship with your posture. Good, and coming back around to your chair, we'll take one really slow, intentional trip down. So watching feet, engaging feet, taking all those alignments and standing. You can use your hands to counterbalance, or you can use your hands to kind of guide yourself down. But on an inhale, sending hips back, paying attention to the alignment of the knees, and placing yourself down in the chair. Coming to a stable seated pose. Feet are aligned. A few deep breaths. Holding the eyes at a single point of focus and really feeling breath fill the side body. So breath fills in and down and moves into the underarms. These last few minutes to just release any tension that's built up over the course of the practice. So keeping your feet in contact with the ground, release any over-efforting that's happening in the foot or the ankle, the calf. Kind of the shin and the knee. Quads and the thighs relaxed. Weight is centered over your sit bones. Low belly is gently toned to hold a nice upright position, and breath comes in and down to meet the tone of the low belly. Side ribs are relaxed, upper back and shoulders are broadened. Hands and palms relaxed. Jaw is parted and the lips touch gently. The tongue flat and broad on the roof of your mouth. Eyes can be open or closed, but they're relaxed. Giving your full attention to the process of breathing. So feeling fully one or two process full cycles of breath without giving your attention to thought. Just keep your mind in bodily sensation. Seeing if you can maintain this orientation and this awareness at your center, feeling the diaphragm move smooth and steady. If you notice that the mind and attention still wanders out of your meditation and into the next activity, see if you can count the breath, counting how long your inhale is and how long your exhale is. Staying present for just a few more minutes. using the breath as a support. Good. And then allow your eyes and mouth to take a slight upward turn. So a gentle inward smile. And taking a moment to cultivate a sense of gratitude. Possibly bringing something to mind or just feeling the sensation of gratitude, breathing it in. Grateful for this day and for your body. And in my case, for some sunshine. Okay, this concludes our guided practice to support knee health and maintain the knee joint.
Just thought I'd give you a heads up.
Thank you all so much for joining.
Okay, that'll be fine.
I love your glasses,
Bye.
Jamie.
Thanks.
Those
Yeah.
are cool.
Thanks. They're blue blocking too.
I love those.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good one.